Lisa Copeland, and I want to invite you to my show, The Big Sell. Are you ready to stop being a small player in a big world? Are you ready to decommoditize your business? Are you ready to stand aside from the competition? Join me every week on The Big Sell. You were the roll your sleeves up, entrepreneur, CEO, and you were out there making it happen.
Absolutely. I was that particular type of founder, entrepreneur, CEO. But I tell you, I don't know if I necessarily 100% agree that the CEO and founder has to be that evangelist or brand ambassador or chief cheerleader, if you will, because we all have, our own connotative way of doing things. And sometimes there's been some great entrepreneurs who weren't that great with people, and they recognized it very early in their business and hired, some fantastic people to do it. But for me personally, I agree with you. I agree with Guy that when you're a small company, communication and the ability to effectively communicate, which helps in sales and negotiation and influence, all the way from your customers to your vendors, to your partners, to your employees, everything revolves around that. And you better be a damn good visionary and leader with your communication skills in order to get people to be on board with your company.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of my favorite things to do on a Saturday when I'd be at the dealership is go out and sell a car. I always had paperwork and stress and vendors and all the things running these car dealerships. But my favorite thing was to go sell a car. And I think it's because I never lost, I never lost my love of people or the actual of making the sale, right? Of the negotiation, the sale, when the customer says yes. So I agree. I think that there's two different kinds of CEOs. So once you sold your company, most guys like you, we can do the math, 43% of, what do we say, 20 or 30 million?
I wish it was 30, 20.
20. That's a lot of money. So, a lot of guys or gals might have just gone off, bought an island, kicked back, and, had a good life. What drove you to decide to start Ask a Millionaire to mentor other people? I mean, you're very unselfish with your time, and it's amazing to me. That's what I liked about you when I first met you. I thought, wow.
Well, thank you. And I would have to say it would have been a really, really tiny island with that amount of money.
Yeah,
after taxes, for those aspiring entrepreneurs, I know I have a lot of salespeople that this is going out to, but for those that are entrepreneurs as well, you really don't know how much money something is until you get a little bit of it. And then you're like, well, that wasn't quite as much as I thought. I need to get my ass back to work.
Right.
When I sold my company, I went through traditional, what they call founder syndrome, where you don't know what in the world you're going to do next. People ask me today, Shawn, how do I figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life? And I'm like, welcome to the club. I'm 48 and I still don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Right.
Because it changes.
One of them.
Yeah, it just changes. Wine is definitely one of them, but I don't want to own a winery. This is a weird way to say this, but it's the God's honest truth, which everything that comes out of my mouth is, to a fault sometimes. But I was on Instagram as a traditional, just Instagram consumer of content, not a creator of content. And I came across these millionaire accounts on Instagram, the ones that are all about motivation. And every single one of them is driving a Ferrari and a Maserati and a Rolls Royce, and there's stacks of cash, and it's all, you better get the hustle going. And it's all the rhetoric of sales and business. But you don't know who, I couldn't figure out who was running these accounts. And it kind of pissed me off. And I'm like, I am a millionaire. That's not how millionaires live. I know hundreds of millionaires and they don't live like that.
You mean they're not balling around in their Ferrari all day long, drinking Dom Perignon and hanging at the yacht?
I've got a couple nice cars. I had a Bentley and a Maserati, but I'm not out there flaunting it in that way. Not that there's not judging, but I'm just saying most millionaires make the money so they can disappear, not so they can go show it off.
Right.
It's not bragging if it's true. Just because I'm driving my nice car doesn't mean I'm out there flaunting it on Instagram. But the point being, I didn't know who these people were running these accounts. And I'm going, this is kind of weird. They're misguiding these young young adults that are on social media, they're not giving them the whole story. And they're certainly not helping them. They might be motivating and inspiring them through materialistic items, but they're not mentoring them. They're not giving them real solid advice on how to sell and how to communicate and how to set goals and how to use mentors and coaches like you. They're not giving any of that. They're just saying, hey, follow me, I've got $1 million. So
Right.
I said, I'm going to create one of these accounts. And as I started thinking about it, I said, going back to my branding of my old company, I said, well, what do I represent? And I just said, as I started to find some success, people wanted to ask me questions. People always want to say, well, how'd you do it? Can you, what did you do? All that. So that's where I was like, and I wanted to keep millionaire in the title because it's just got that great marketing buzz. And so I just called it Ask A Millionaire. And from day one, I basically answered every comment and direct message that anybody would send me, because keep in mind, I wasn't working at the time. I was in kind of retirement mode. I was just hanging out at the beach in Manhattan Beach. And so I had all the time in the world. And so I had a lot of fun in the beginning. And then it kind of transpired to live streaming with Periscope when Periscope came out in the summer of 2015. And I started sending my audience over to Periscope and building a big live streaming mentorship platform. And then Instagram adopted live streaming. And so now I mainly do almost all of my live streaming on Instagram. And I don't know if you want me to tell you why I use Instagram.
Yeah, no, I do. One of the questions I was going to ask you, because I know so many people that watch the show and so many entrepreneurs. It's like, okay, there's so many social media platforms. And of course, I know you and I know your platforms, but your Facebook platform's not near as robust, listen to me, robust as your Instagram platform. And maybe that's because you go and put so much attention. Tell us about why you chose Instagram.
For live streaming, and what I do is, I'm the original live stream mentor. I actually got that trademark. It's been issued. It's sitting here on my desk, the original live stream mentor. When doing question and answer sessions, Instagram and Periscope are by far the best platforms because they make it easy to see the comments coming up on the screen and you can answer them very easily. On Facebook, it's not as easy. Facebook is better if you have a themed, content-driven communication that you want to put out there, and then you'll go back after the fact and read the comments and respond. It works great, but that requires, as you know, a lot of time to put together a show.
Right.
For me, I don't have to put a lot of time into what I do because I'm basically just answering questions from the audience. And let's face it, most audiences are selfish, and all they want is the time and attention that you're going to give them right now, immediate satisfaction. So they don't want to wait until you read their comment afterwards. They want immediate satisfaction. So if you're a great live streamer, which I would consider myself expert level live streaming, I can zip through and answer questions, hundreds, if not thousands of questions in a 30, 45-minute session. And it helps create that know-like trust from a personal brand perspective. So that's why I love Instagram.
So what makes you an expert live streamer? What is it? Is it because you're good on camera, because you understand how to, run the flow of the show, the questions? Like, what is it? What would it take for us to be expert live streamers?
Just like anything, if you want to use Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours, you could just kind of relate it to that. I've done, if you practice something and you do thousands and thousands of live streams, you're going to be better than your first one, right? If you go out there and you're selling cars or selling a product or service, you're probably going to suck your first time. But after doing it a couple of years, you start to develop your script and develop your confidence and start understanding how things go and reading body language and verbal and nonverbal communication and learning how to listen. You're going to get better. So for me, it was understanding the dynamic of how to run the format, but it's the lighting, it's the sound, it's the background, it's knowing where to position yourself on the camera. Like if you look at me right now, I'm like centered and a little bit higher. A lot of people will do their live streams and they're like this. They're like at the bottom and they're just kind of looking down at this.
Yeah, it makes me
people
crazy.
Don't want to watch it. People don't want to watch it. People want to look at, look at the camera. There's, it's just like regular television. There's a lot of, of processes that go to making a good live streamer. And of course, I think some people, as some people are meant to be on the stage more than off the stage.
Right.
And I've always, I used to be a professional singer, so I always enjoy being on the stage. So being in front of the camera is something that I've always enjoyed.
Yeah, one of my agents said, there are people that are meant to be the star, and then there are people that are just meant to be support cast. Own whatever role that you're supposed to be in, and and do it well. So what is your opinion? Because you truly are a millionaire, you truly are an expert. You're out there and you're giving back so much. What is your opinion of everybody in the world now? They want to be Gary Vee, they want to be Grant, they want to be you, they want to be, I think it's just you three really that kind of dominate that whole space. So what are your thoughts about that? I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of good stuff that I like to watch, some sales experts, but some of it is just nonsense.
I agree. And I appreciate you putting me in the likes of two guys that are really crushing it and much more financially successful and have even bigger audiences than I do. So thank you for that. I would say this, Lisa, just like I say to the people that I mentor, and I know you probably feel the same way. I tell people that there's no substitute for developing a one-on-one relationship with a coach, mentor, or advisor. It's fun to consume content and listen and get some motivation from some of the channels that are out there. But what differentiates someone like myself from some of the other people that you're talking about, not the successful people like Gary and others, we did something. We're expert at something. Yeah. We didn't just say, I'm going to go put myself on social media and try to become expert at something.
Exactly.
Before we got on social media, we already made our money. We already became expert at something. And now we're sharing those experiences and allowing people to come along on the journey as we are on a new journey ourselves with social media and personal branding, authority marketing, influencer marketing, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's the biggest step that a lot of people forget, is that the crawling part, the walking part, is you've got to go do something before people are going to want to use you as an expert. You have to be an expert.
You do. And, and to your point, and I think that, and one of the things that I'll say about Grant, because I've known him for, I think since 2010, I tell this show a lot. I tell this story a lot. He walked in my dealership back in 2010. I was a nobody and he was a nobody at the time. And he walked in, flew in on Delta, not on the G5. And he was trying to sell me his training. And, the thing I'll say about Grant is that, people ask me, he's consistent. He never gives up. It isn't, you're not one and done being an expert or, developing, brand authority, cult branding, or whatever we want to call what you and I do for a living. It's consistency. You are now your brand 24/7. And that means you live it in your social life, on social media, you live it in your business life. And I think a lot of people jump in, they're like, well, I did 6 videos and it didn't work, so now I'm getting out. And, right. And Grant, the guy is relentless. He's absolutely relentless. And I will say that about him. He texted me about 2 weeks ago and he said, hey, send me a video. I want to introduce you to my audience, about entrepreneurs. And, I thought, it was just, it was like probably at 7 o'clock at night, and it was from his phone. Right. And so, yeah. The guy runs his ship and he runs his brand. And I know you do the same thing. And do you believe that that's critical even when you get as big as you, Gary and Grant?
But the bottom line is, yeah, absolutely. But I think that the bottom line is that when you reach a certain critical mass in your, let's just say, call it follower base, if you will, your audience, mm-hmm. There's no more of just your agenda. Your agenda becomes your audience's
right.
agenda. And that's what's been really cool about what I do is 100% driven by me. I had no product, no system, no course, no book, no nothing. Everything that I do now, from the ebook that I did, that you can find on Amazon,
Amazon.com.
Exactly, to the TEDx talk I did around the book, to the courses and the goal setting platform that I'm in beta mode with right now. Everything that I have created and I've done with Ask a Millionaire, including the mentorship group that I put together, everything has been 100% to serve the need and demand of the audience. I didn't have like a product that I went to market with and then tried to go find that audience. The Ask a Millionaire audience are just people that want and need access to somebody that they don't have access to today.
But so that's why you've got the following you've got, Shawn, because people trust you. You know, you are an authority, and you're accessible also, you know, just to be able to, you know, get through to you. So tell us about most won't, but I will. I love that. Like, I think that's one of the best hashtags I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. The way it came about was when I was developing kind of the branding for the askamillionaire.com website. We wanted to have some sort of slogan, if you will. And we just started, you know, my branding person said, well, what made you successful? And I said, you know, I said the quintessential line, which has been said a million different ways, which is, I'm willing to do what others won't. Most won't do the things, and I will. And I just said, you know, that's a hashtag right there. Most won't, I will. And that's how it came about. Was when I mentor people right now, I say to them, if you will just basically ingrain this habitually into your thought process, when you say, I need to do this, I should do this, just say to yourself, think of who you put on a pedestal as the most successful person in the world. And say, and let's just say it's me, you know, we're talking about me.
Just talking about you right now.
You know, I say, well, if I say I need to do this, what would Shawn do? You know, he would go do it. Like, he's relentless. He would just go do it. He wouldn't even think about it, because that's how you find success. So most won't, I will. So most wouldn't do it, which is why most aren't in the 1%. Most don't reach the goals. Most actually don't even set goals. I will. And if you just develop that mindset among everything that you do in life, including how you treat your relationships, your friendships, everything, to your love of your life, your relationship with God, your body, everything. If you live your life with that motto, you have no choice but to succeed. And so that's why I love it.
I also think you should get a hashtag WWSD. What would Shawn do? Because that would be something that your followers would think about.
Possibly. You know, that one might be a little bit too close to the what would Jesus do?
What would Jesus do? No, I'm not trying to compare you to Jesus. So I know, let's just get that straight.
That might feel a little bit close to it for me, but yeah,
but you said it, like, you know, what would Shawn do? So, you know, but, you know, I like what you said, because I agree. You know, my course, which I'm not pitching it right now, it's not ready to come out, but it's kind of almost ready. But it's Sales Masters, the 1% Club, right? Because there's only 1%. I've found in 30 years of running sales organizations and owning companies, there's only 1% of the people that are willing to do the work. And, you know, there are a lot of people that'll work this day, that day, sometimes, anytime, but not all the time, every day. You're always on. My dear friend Jan Goss says you have to show up well every day. And I believe that. You've got to show up well. You've got to be on your game, and you have to be relentless, you know, and that's the 1%. And most people are not willing to do the work. And I think that is, if nothing else, doing what you and I do in the world, it's encouraging people to do the work, to be consistent, to show up well. Like, the rules of engagement are they're not that hard to live by. But I think you and I both find that a lot of people, they're just not willing to make the sacrifice.
I agree. And I tell you, people today have it so much easier because of technology. Yeah. Think about this. It used to be where entrepreneurs and salespeople like ourselves used to feel like we were alone because our friends didn't do the things we did, and the people that were in our network didn't. And it was hard to find the 1%ers to hang out with.
Right.
Well, today, because of people like yourself that put together, you know, your art of selling groups and your places to belong, Art of the Big Sell. That's right. When you put people like yourself are putting those places together today for those people to say, well, I am in the 1%. I think like that. I need someone to hang around that's not my regular friends.
Right.
I'll just come hang out with you, Lisa, all day long, and you, Shawn, all day long. And I don't even have to mess with all of the riffraff and excuse makers and the people that don't want to show up, that are just vampires on our system. You know what I mean? So I think today it makes it so much easier if people would just conscientiously choose to get involved with the right people. They will
I think that you and I should put on a 1% conference.
Let's do it.
And it'd be interesting to see who would actually have the guts to show up, because I know you and I we're very much aligned. We're very drill sergeant in how we believe and what we believe. And, you know, I mean, success is not easy, and success is not for sissies. And, you know, I mean, I just, you know, I mean, I know what you had to do to get there. I know what I had to do to get there, the sacrifices made along the way, and we're still doing it. And it's not because for the same reasons we probably did it 20 years ago.
Well, we do it today. I mean, I don't know your 100% reason, but today I do it because I can, because I already put in all the crappy work. I'll tell you this. I didn't ever have the desire and dream to run a computer system selling computers to hotels. I didn't wake up in the morning and go, I had this grandiose dream of owning a company selling computers to hotels. I just tried lots of different opportunities and finally found one that stuck, that I became great at it. And I milked it till as far as I could take it. Today, it's all the true epitome of the dream of being able to make a living, you know, still, because I'm still an entrepreneur. Just because you have money doesn't mean you stop making money or having the desire, because your goals change. Because now my next goal is to have $1 million in a foundation to really help entrepreneurs. So I got to make some more money. But today it's all about, man, if I can really help somebody become something that they want to, like I was in my 20s, and, you know, generate a business around that, gosh, what an amazing type of business to have. And that's why I do what I do. And I know that's probably a big reason of why you do what you do. But yeah. I agree, Lisa. I think doing a conference with people that say, hey, I'm part of the 1%. And
it's like you have to commit. Like you've got to commit to do the work. I mean, we need to have like somebody there at 6 o'clock in the morning making me do my, oh my God, want to kill myself Orange Theory stuff every morning now. And
exactly.
right. And you know, you start there, but it's like really doing the work. It isn't just Lisa and Shawn standing up there going, you know, at people, because that's easy to do. I did that for 30 years.
I think, you know, sorry to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off, but, you know, I'm doing my second annual business conference for my tribe members this August.
1 million of them?
And, well, no, these are just people in my mentorship group. And I limited it to just 40 because I just built a new event space here on my property here in Franklin. And I'm bringing in 6, 7 coaches, 1%ers. 2 of them have actually built billion-dollar companies. And it's a straight mastermind type conference, 3 days. It's a mastermind. That's the 1%ers. It has to, you and I both, it has to be a mastermind. It has to be engaging, interactive, where they have direct, Lisa, I need help with this, help me right now type of interaction. Because in a conference, in a workshop, mastermind, whatever you want to call it, there in those types of settings, you do walk away with executable strategies to go double your income. Because if I talk to someone who's created $1 billion company, you give me a day with them, I'll walk out of there knowing what I need to do to double my business.
Amen.
But if I go to a conference where I hear people speak, it's great hyperbole and storytelling and maybe some strategy and things to do. But most people leave those conferences going, well, how do I make it work for me?
Right.
And so I agree with you. I think you and I should put together something and we call up our friends and say, we want you to participate and come and experience this. And I think people should comment below and say, I'm ready right now.
Yeah. Like, okay. So yeah. So and honestly, guys, that was not rehearsed. John and I have been working together on a couple of other projects, but so as we kind of wrap up, you know, another thing that you and I have got in common is the whole Think and Grow Rich. And the first time you and I talked, probably 6 months ago, one of the first things you said was, you know, how are you involved with Think and Grow Rich? And I said, well, Sharon Lechter is one of my dearest friends, and I'm involved with the Think and Grow Rich movement, of course, her book and us doing some events. And then I know you were involved with sponsoring the Think and Grow Rich movie that my dear friend, among many people were in, my dear friend Sharon Lechter was in. So, you know, I think we've always had that mindset of the Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. Who would you say is the greatest thought leader of all time? Would you say it's Hill?
Boy, that is a tough one.
See,
Yeah.
I did not prep you, did I?
Yeah. I mean, if you take a look at that book, it spans countries, religions, backgrounds, cultures, the basic foundational principles that will be around forever. No matter wherever technology takes you. Those are the foundational things that you can just go read and reread again over and over again as a reminder of that the basic principles of the way you treat people, the way that you live the law within yourself, and it just never changes. And that book will definitely go down in history as probably the biggest movement book ever.
So if you were going to recommend a book to everybody out there right now on business, what would be the one you'd recommend?
The Alchemist.
Oh, The Alchemist? Turning metal into gold.
Yeah.
An alchemist.
Skill cannot be developed at the level that we develop it at until you have the mindset and belief that it's possible.
Right.
And so once you develop a mindset that the universe will conspire to give you everything you want if you just believe it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I mean, it's been proven over and over again.
Right.
We all can go learn how to sell, how to write, how to talk, how to run a computer, how to code, how to do graphics. We can all learn skills. But if we don't believe how to believe certain signs and believe certain people and trust our heart and our soul and all that, the rest, the skill, there are a lot of very skilled people who are miserable and broke because they just still don't have the belief that they deserve.
I was about to say, they don't believe that they're worthy. And so then they almost become resentful of other people that believe.
Yep. The best salespeople in the world are the ones that 100% believe that they'll be able to do anything they want. And the way to get through it is to help somebody else.
That's right. It isn't what you sell, it's what you stand for. And if you stand for something big enough, people will buy what you're selling.